everybody. Sorry for the delay. I'm getting over being sick, and it's 52 pages. I've only looked at the first 2 pages. Every time I read a document, it's the first time I'm seeing it, just like y'all. So I've already gone over the first 2 pages in a previous video, or live. Andrew Colborn versus Netflix, Chrome Media, Synthesis Films, Laura Cardi and Maura Demos. Affidavit of Michael Griesbach, State of Wisconsin and Manitowoc County. Michael Griesbach, being first duly sworn under oath, states as follows. Attached is Exhibit A, true correct copy of pages 150 through 157 of February 27, 2007 transcript proceedings day 12, in which they reference the star 67 calls made to Teresa Hallbach's phone from Stephen's phone. Attached is Exhibit B, true and correct copies of web pages from the website StephenAveryCase.org, which provide documents which are related to Stephen Avery trials for the public. Included are about page of the website, website index, and the jury trial index listings. Attached is Exhibit C, a true and correct copy of the web page transcripts, a dealer, Making a Murder, wherein the transcript for the show Making a Murder can be found. Attached to Exhibit D is true and correct copy of the first 4 pages of a total of 1,116 pages of Calumet County Sheriff's Department documents relating to the Avery case, which are publicly available at StephenCase.org. Exhibit E is a true correct copy of Andrew Colborn's response to Netflix's second set of interrogatories of the second set of document requests. Attached is Exhibit F, a true and correct copy of September 30th, 2003 report from the Division of Criminal Investigation regarding the FOIA request related to Stephen Avery. It's not signed, but here we go. Recollection was clear that is, as you get closer to it earlier in the time, specifically November of 2005. Yes. Do you remember both of your first 2 interviews with law enforcement? I remember the first 2. Question. Did you remember in both of those interviews telling law enforcement officers that Barb left her house sometime between 11 p.m. or midnight and went home those nights? Yes, I assume she went home. I thought she did. Attorney Kratz. I'm assuming they're questioning Scott Tadich here. That's all I have, Mr. Tadich. Thank you. The court. All right. The witness excused. We will call your next witness, Mr. Kratz. Attorney Kratz, call Bobby Dowart to the stand. Could I have just a minute with Mr. Strang, Judge? Sure. Excuse me, counsel. I think the witness is standing right behind you. Raise your right hand. I call as a witness herein have been very fully sworn, examined, testify as follows. The clerk, please be seated. Please state your name and spell your last name for the record. The witness, my name is Bobby Dorwart, D-O-H-R-W-R-D-T. Direct examination. Attorney Kratz, I'm sorry for the delay, Mr. Dorwart. Can you tell the jury, please, how you're employed? I work for Cellcom. And what is Cellcom? Cellcom is a wireless carrier local to northeast Wisconsin. Mr. Dorwart, have you been asked on reviewed cellular telephone records for the subscriber by the name Stephen Avery or Avery Savage, Auto Savage, for the dates on around October 31st, 2005? Yes, sir. Let me ask you, Ms. Dorwart, are you in employment with Cellcom? Are you what is known as one of the custodians of the business records for the business? Yes, I am. Generally, what do you do for Cellcom? I am a team leader for a technical support department. And the team leader, are you able to review to extend that as at least the general terms where you're going to ask your questions? Are you able to interpret cellular telephone records that you have been asked to look at? Yes, sir. Attorney Kratz. The court has asked Judge, I think Mr. Strang will agree, that we use telephone records in this instance. Telephone numbers in this instance. And Ms. Dorwart will be referring then to subscriber names rather than numbers. And please, Mr. Strang, if there's an issue, stop and we can either approach the bench or we can approach the witness at the time. Does that sound fair, Judge? Attorney Strang. Your Honor, this is actually Willoughby, Mr. Beauty's witness. But we do have an agreement that the purpose of this trial, we not identify specific telephone numbers, at least without conferring further. Very well. Ms. Dorwart, the first document that you have in front of you, which is actually quite small print, I would ask you to identify the document number for me, please. Which exhibit number is it? Exhibit 359. And could you tell the jury, please, what Exhibit 359 is? It's a call record that I produced. And was this call record, again, for both incoming and outgoing telephone calls for the cellular telephone record for the Stephen Avery? Yes. Again, do these include calls on October 31st of 2005? Yes. If I asked you a specific time, and if you have another record next to you, which I think is Exhibit 360, please feel free to refer to that will assist you. Does that sound okay? Fine. Let me ask you, then, Ms. Dorwart, at 8:12 a.m. on October 35th, 2005, was a cellular telephone call placed from cellular telephone of Stephen Avery? Yes. And again, referring to Exhibit 9360, since that will refer to subscriber names rather than numbers, could you tell us who the call went, please? The call was to Auto Trader. And how long of what duration of call? 2 minutes, 47 seconds. I would next ask you to review an outgoing telephone call at 2:24 p.m. Do you know the calling has been made? Yes. And again, referring to Exhibit 360 and 359, conjunction, are you able to tell what the telephone call was made to? To Teresa Hallbach. What is the duration of that call? 7 seconds. Now, Ms. Dorwart, I'm going to ask you about the specific cellular telephone feature, which is called Star 67 feature. Are you familiar with that? Yes. Could you explain to the jury what Star 67 is feature? It's a remote feature activation that will allow the outbound number to be blocked or restricted on terminating end. If the individual on the receiving end, let's say caller ID, you may have a better turn than that, but if they had what we know as a caller ID, would they be able to see who the call is being made from? No. It would appear as blocked or restricted, private, something like that. And next, Ms. Dorwart, I'm going to ask you to review those records again, Exhibit 359 and 360. Ask at 2:35 p.m. if another outgoing call was attempted from the cell phone of Stephen Avery. Yes. And who was the call placed to? Teresa Hallbach. Is there duration or what that completed call? There was no duration. All right. Now, both the 224 call and the 235 call, do your records reflect any specific call feature was used on those two calls? Yes. Which call feature was used? The Star 67 blocking feature. At 4:35 p.m., Ms. Dorwart, does another outgoing call appear on those records? Yes. Who was the call made to? Teresa Hallbach. And this is a duration noted that the call, no duration. So duration would be 0. All right. At 5:57 p.m., do your record reflect another call being made? Yes. And who was the call made to? Charles Avery. And you describe for the jury duration of that call. All right, I'm going to stop right here. Now, we have references of individuals stating that Stephen Avery made the suggestion that Teresa Hallbach never showed up. Well, based on Stephen Avery's accounts, he was trying to call Teresa Hallbach back because after he looked at the Auto Trader magazine that she gave him after taking pictures and leaving the property, he noticed there was front-end loaders in the Auto Trader, and they had one. So I believe that he was trying to call Teresa Hallbach to come back and take pictures of the loader. He didn't get a hold of her, and that's when he told Chuck. And now we have record. I mean, I've been over every single document we could possibly have. But yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to continue on. And you describe for the jury duration of that call, 5 minutes, 23 seconds. Finally, Ms. Dorwart, at 9:20 p.m., do your records reflect the final outgoing call that day? Yes. Who was the call made to? Barb Yonda. And this is a call duration associated with that call. Yes. 0. Okay. We know that Stephen Avery is talking to Jody on the 31st because we have the call. And at 9:07 p.m., he references Barb leaving again to go to Scott's. So I'm assuming after he hung up with talking to Jody, he then tried to call Barb. For what reason, we will never know. Now we talked about exhibit number 359 being your records. That is, your records of Cellcom. Exhibit 360 appeared to be a legal term and summary exhibit of what have testified heard today. Yes, and the numbers or times of the calls, type of call, and call durations all appear consistent with only the records in 359, but also with that testified here today. Yes. One thing I take about this is they didn't give the actual documents to the courts. They manipulated them. It's right here. They made it, if you guys get what I'm saying. Attorney Kratz, with that, then Judge, I will remove the admission exhibit 359, provisionally 360, and make an additional stipulation with the exhibit. But I don't believe in any further question to Mr. Dorwart at the time. Thank you. The objection to the exhibits? No objection. All right. The exhibits are received. Can we approach your honor? And now the exhibits that they just presented in trial, which are not the actual documents, are now entered into record. Does anybody else see a problem with this? Because I surely fucking do. All right, next is the Stephen Avery trial transcripts and documents. Case files about us, context. This is the webpage on StephenAveryTrial.org. This site is created on January 2016 by Skip Top and friends and made possible thanks to sponsors and many generous donors who were gracious enough to contribute money through crowdfunding campaign to help us obtain copies of Stephen Avery trial transcripts and case file documents from Manitowoc County, Wisconsin. Like many others, we became aware of the interesting Stephen Avery case after seeing the very popular Netflix series Making a Murder. We wanted to know more about what really happened in the trial. All of the documents from the following case, State of Wisconsin, Stephen Avery, case number 2005, CF 000381. All these trial records were paid for through our crowdfunding campaign with the expectation of a handful of documents. Photos that were either obtained and posted online by others and sent to us for publication on the site. As of May 2016, we have nearly 250 exhibit photos, 450 documents, and investigation trial total over 1,500 pages. Stephen Trial Records documents. You can see this on the website if you guys go there. I don't need to read all this. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Day 1, opening statements. Kratz, Attorney Strang, witness Michael D. Hallbach, Teresa's brother, direct accusation. David Beach. This is all the trial testimony, everybody that was questioned each day. Filling Zipper, Ryan Hilgis, Pam Strum, witness Nicole Strum. Then infamous Bobby Dassey testifies. Or I should say lies. Trooper Timothy Austin. Day 4, witness Bobby Dassey. Brett Bowe, which spent 36 hours straight on the property without leaving. I don't see how you're able to conduct a thorough investigation with no sleep, relying on just coffee. I stay up for long periods of time, and you can get pretty delusional at some point. Jason Orth, Deputy Inspector Todd Herman, Julie Kramer. Why didn't they question Loof's handler? She's participating in the new convicting. Seems like everybody that is involved is involved in that documentary, if it ever gets picked up and released. Special Agent Tom Fassbender, William Brandes, Trooper Cindy Payne, John Ertl, David Siders. He returns with Michael Bushman on the 7th after Michael Bushman never signs out. He signs in the morning, leaves at some point, not through the checkpoint because he didn't sign out, and then he comes back with Siders. He then leaves again and then comes back without signing out. Calumet County, William Tyson. He was set to babysit Colborn and Link the day they found the key. Andrew Colborn, James Link. And it's the state presenting their case, so they get to question all the witnesses first. And he also calls the state's building their case. Dave Remaker, Dan Kucharski, Alien Boy, Gary Steer, Kevin Hermel, witness, Katie Hallbach, Ronald Goffey, Sherry Big Hair Colhane, Nick Stalkey, Blaine Dassey, Robert Fabian, Scott Tadich, Bobby Dorwart. Bobby Dorwart recalled. Witness, Special Agent Tom Sturdivant, Dr. Donald Smiley, Karen Hallbach, Leslie Eisenberg, Curtis Thomas, William Newhouse, Kenneth Olson, Jeffrey Jensen, Mark LeBeau, Lynn Zygmunt, Mark LeBeau again, Rodney Pavito, Riddle, Joseph Zimmerman, Michael Hallbach, Mark Wiegert, Lisa Buchner, school bus driver that is recalling something that happened on a day it didn't. Because there's no way she could have seen Teresa Hallbach taking pictures of a van a half a mile away. Not unless she had fucking binoculars. John LeCrain, the propane truck driver. Ronald Johnson, he owns Stephen Avery's trailer and property. Deb Katach, the coroner that was barred from entering the scene, but they sure made good use of Calumet counties. Because Greg Shetter is requesting them to page that exact coroner the same day they find the pelvic bones in the quarry. Mark Wiegert, and court sessions, jury instruction. A lot of this is really not relevant. Alright, transcripts. Making a Murder 2015 transcripts. Now, Colborn claims that he never watched the documentary. He just read transcripts. But based on the email he sent to the sheriff trying to clear up any misinformation that he's responsible for planting a key or anything else, it's just a bunch of bullshit. I hope they aren't putting every single fucking page one. Now, this is my problem with the Calumet County Sheriff's Department. At approximately 5 o'clock later than the Mew, Calumet County Sheriff's Department began a new investigation of possible missing person. I believe it should have started out at approximately 2:37 p.m. Karen Hallbach calls and reports her daughter missing. Nope, but it starts when Leslie Lemieux arrives on the property. We know that around 4 o'clock, while Scott Blodorn is calling Auto Trader to get all the information, or actually, when he calls Stephen Schmitz, Ryan Hilgis is on the phone with Kelly Pitson at the same time, and they're thinking that Stephen Schmitz is Stephen Avery, and they make some accusations towards him, so then he in turn calls Auto Trader, complaining about not being blamed for something he has nothing to do with. I'm not going to read all this. I've read the Calumet County Sheriff's Report. I don't know how many times. Several. But I will read this. Conway, Ochek, and Jerry, April 6, 2022. Enclosed, please find copies of plaintiff's response to Netflix Incorporated set of interrogatories to plaintiff and second set of document requests to plaintiff consistent with local practice and maintaining the original file. Plaintiff, law firm, George Burnett. Plaintiff Andrew Colborn responds to defendant Netflix's second set of interrogatories. Plaintiff Andrew Colborn, by through his attorneys, law firm Conway, responds to defendant Netflix's second set of interrogatories as follows. General objections. To the extent that any of the interrogatories call information which is protected by attorney-client privilege, work product, doctrine, otherwise immune from discovery, plaintiff hereby objects to the furnishing of such information not provided. I don't see why, because they asked for all information that Michael Griesbach had prior to him to becoming counsel. So that should have no bearing on what happened after he became counsel, in my opinion. Subject to the foregoing objections and specific objections stated below, plaintiff respectfully submits without any way conceding relevancy and admissibility following response to the interrogatories. Interrogatory number 3. State whether you have watched Making a Murderer, including how many times you have watched each episode and when you watch each episode. Answer: I have only seen some experts at Making a Murderer and do not know what episode they were from. But you told me he stated he only read transcripts. So you're telling me somebody brought it to his attention, like, hey, they're talking bad about you in this documentary, and instead of watching it, you said, oh, get me the transcripts for it. Doesn't make no sense. And he's also claiming this also, because of what happened in the documentary, caused his wife to leave him. Identify all mail and social media accounts you maintained or created from 2015 to present, including any accounts that you shared with another individual, including but not limited to Barbara Colborn. I have not created any social media accounts or email accounts since 2015, nor do I share any email accounts with anyone. Interrogatory number 5. Identify any counselors, support groups, therapists, or other groups of individuals from whom you sought support for anxiety, depression, and other mental distress you claim you suffered as a result of making a murder. I only saw my health care providers and identify as Privet and Aurora medical records. Now, if you really were having such distraught and like he claims that he built a safe room in his house because he and his family feared for their lives. Him and his wife and family weren't allowed to go out in public. But if you're so stressed out, why wouldn't you go see the specialist? You got health care. You're a state employee. I only saw my health care provider as identified in Privet and Aurora medical records, dated the 6th of April, 2022. As a response, State of Wisconsin, courtesy of Andrew Colborn, being first fully sworn on his oath, states that he has read the foregoing response to the interrogatories and that the same are true to the best of his knowledge. At this time, further he reserves the right to amend the responses should later discovered information suggest that any of the foregoing responses are incorrect or incomplete. So if they find out that he's lying, they give him a chance to correct the record. None of these things are signed. He didn't sign it. Plaintiff defendant Andrew Colborn in response to defendant Netflix's second set of requests for production of documents. Plaintiff Andrew Colborn, by and through his attorneys, law firm Conway, and Jerry, responds to defendant Netflix's second set of requests for production of documents as follows. General objections. To the extent that any request or production of documents call for information which is protected by attorney-client privilege, work product, doctrine, otherwise immune for discovery, plaintiff hereby objects to furnishing any such information and such information not to be provided. To the extent that any request for production of documents exceed the scope of permissible discovery and set forth the Federal Rule of Civil Produce Procedure 26 and 34, plaintiff's objection will comply only to the extent of the obligations thereunder. Discovery and investigation are continued in this matter, and plaintiff reserves the right to amend or supplement these responses accordingly. Subject to the foregoing objections and the specific objections asserted below, plaintiff respectfully submits without any way conceding relevancy or admissibility of the following response to the request for production of documents. Request for production. Request number 7. Documents sufficient to show your income from 2010 to present without limiting the foregoing in any way. Produce your federal and state tax returns and any pension statements from 2010 to present. Plaintiff objects to the request as vague as the scope of what is being requested. Subject to and without waiving his objections, plaintiff responds that he will produce his federal and state tax returns from the period described, subject to appropriate designations under the protective order entered in this matter. Please see Colborn 00164161007771. 1. Request number 8. All documents related to allegations you made in response to integrity number 9 of defendant Crow Media's first set of interrogatories, including that the allegation that Maker Murder cost you at least $400,000 in lost income and caused damage to your reputation and personal happiness in an amount exceeding $1 million per episode. So he wants $20 million because there's 10 episodes per season, 2 seasons. Really? Plaintiff objects to the request as vague as the scope of what is being requested, subject to and without waiving his objections. Plaintiff responds that he will produce his federal and state tax returns subject to appropriate designations under the protective order entered in the matter. Plaintiff will also search personal records for copies of wage statements during the time periods in question. $20 million. He wants $1 million for every episode that Netflix put out for the documentary. Can you all believe that? I can't wrap my head around that. No wonder he's trying to win this. No wonder Netflix didn't settle out of court. All documents, including all communications between you and others, including friends, family, colleagues, regarding the termination of your employment from the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department. So Andrew Colborn was terminated. I wonder why he was terminated. I know in the sheriff election, he was running mate to Robert Herman, and he lost. And then he was given the title of like chief evidence custodian. He was head of, Everybody in this case, law enforcement side, prosecution, has been taken care of. There's just 2 people that fucked them up for themselves. Mr. Kenneth Kratz, I know you're watching, and Mr. Meow Meow Kaczynski. Those 2 should both be in prison. Those 2 are sexual predators. Kratz, 1,000%. Response. Plaintiff objects to the request as vague as the scope of what is being requested. Subject to and without waiving his objections, plaintiff has already produced written text message that may relate to the retirement. If plaintiff is able to identify additional non-privileged responsive documents in the possession, he will produce them. So he terminated his employment on his own, or he was terminated. It didn't really specify, but based on what I just read, sounds like he was terminated or let go. All documents, including all communications between you and potential actual employers related to any job in which you expressed interest for which you applied following termination of your employment with the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department, including but not limited to all documents in which potential employer indicated that you're not interested in hiring you. Plaintiff's objections or requests is as vague as the scope of what is being requested. It's the same response to every fucking question, just fucking tippy-toeing around all the bullshit. They aren't going to give anything up unless they are court-ordered to. All documents, communications related to your divorce that are now publicly available via Manitowoc County Circuit Court, case number 221 FA 0057, Feel free to look that case up, y'all. I'm sure you'll probably find some interesting things. It's all on the internet. All I got to do is know how to do it. Plaintiff's objects to request vague as the scope of what is being requested and is invading the social privilege to extend that he requests documents to contain communications with Barb Colborn prior to their divorce that he does not intend to rely upon in support of claims asserted in this case, subject to and without waiving his objections. Plaintiff will produce documents. The fact that they're breathing his wife up, I guarantee the attorneys for Netflix are going to be calling her as a witness and doing a deposition on her too. Plaintiff will produce documents that were filed because Netflix came out in 2015, and his divorce was a few months after that. And he claims that just because of the documentary that was probably the final straw, but it wasn't the beginning, in my opinion. But I don't know the man, I don't know the woman, I don't know their situation. All I know is what I read and hear and see. All communications between you and Netflix are producer defendants, including between you and anyone represented that they were contacting you on behalf of Netflix and producer defendants. Response. Subject as the general objections. Plaintiff responds. He believes that responsive documents would have been contained in his text or email messages which have been produced. Arrest number 13. All communications sent to and from email or social media accounts you maintain, including but not limited to phantomfaxer@hotmail.com or any other accounts which are identified as response to Netflix territory. Number 4. Concerning involving related to making murder, Netflix producer defendants convicted of murder. Really? Convicting a murderer too, huh? Alternately known as convicting, the criminal trial of Stephen Avery's appeal of his conviction. Let me guess. It's going to be the same response. Murder of Teresa Halbach. Bernadette's appeal for his conviction for the murder of Teresa Halbach. Avery's civil claims against Manitowoc County or their physical and mental health. Subject to his general objections, plaintiff responds that he believes that any responsive documents would have been contained in his text or email message would have been produced or withheld under privilege designations and exemption and all messages involving or relating to his physical and mental health, the scope of which vague or overbroad. Plaintiff's counsel will seek to meet or confer with defendant's counsel regarding the request, and proportionally we should hear cost of the searches of text email accounts that are permitted. Plaintiff also retreats in response to the request and objections to producing any documents within the scope of the spousal or journalist privileges belonging to a journalist who have indicated they intend to protect their privilege as previously asserted in his prior productions. Number 14, all communications between you. That's how they're going to get their little out here. Say that he got it from a reporter. That's why he can't really reveal his source. But all communications between you and those individuals indicated your supplemental response, interrogator number 10. Defendant Crow Media's first set of interrogatories provided by email on February 16, 2022, including Paul Kopenlansky, Betty Kopenlansky, Barb Colborn, Robert Wagner, Linda Wagner, Dale Hansen, Kathy Hansen, Pastor Tom Pankow. I know a Pankow. Interesting. Richard Miller, Pam Miller, Paul Hansen, the 215 to present. All right, I usually don't reveal these kind of things, so the ones that do watch this in, because I don't see people don't watch these Colborn things too far in. One of my friends had a kid with the Dieterings. My friend Amber knows Ryan Hilgis. The previous owner of my vehicle was a Kratz. My cousin married a Vogel. Yeah. Subject to general objection, plaintiff responds that he believes any response documents would have been contained in text mailing messages withheld and privileges. I'm going to put the link to these documents in the description of the video or in the comment section, one of the two. I read all that. People's names, Netflix producer defendants, convicted of murder, alternate known as convicting, criminal child Response. Subject to general objections, plaintiff responds that he believes that any responsive documents would have been contained in his text or email messages, which have produced or withheld under their privileged designations with the expectation all messages involving relating to his physical or mental health, the scope of which vague or overbroad plaintiff's counsel will seek to meet and confer with defendant's counsel regarding this request, is proportionally and should bear the cost of searches and text and email cost. So he's saying he'll give this all stuff up as long as they pay for it. Question number 15. All communications between you on the one hand and James Link and or Marla Link from 2003 to present. Now, I hope if they make them turn this shit over, this includes the company cell phones that Manitowoc County had. Because this will clear up so much. But I guarantee they're going to fight in tooth and nail to release anything. Hey, there's been plenty of times where a civil suit helps another criminal case that has nothing to do with it, just because people are involved. Subject to the general objection, plaintiff responds that believes that any responsive documents would have been contained in his text or email message which have been reduced or withheld under privilege or designation, explanation, and all messages involving or relating to his physical or mental health, the scope of which the vague or overbroad. Plaintiff's counsel will seek to meet and confer with the defendant's counsel regarding the request, and proportionally they should bear the cost of any search or text or email accounts if permitted. Plaintiff also reiterates the response to request objections producing any documents within the scope of the spousal or journalistic privileges belonging to journalists who have indicated they intend to protect their privileges as previously asserted in prior productions. Request number 16. All communications between you and any individuals contacted in an attempt to gather information regarding falsehoods, if any, in making a murder after stating to Patrick O'Dumphy on January 12, 2016, that you would try to get information from others detailing what you claimed was false in making a murder, which episodes contained false statements and reflected in FOIA. Response. Plaintiff objects to the request apparently seeking information that is protected by attorney-client work product privileges. To the best of his knowledge, the recollection of this time, plaintiff does not believe that their privileges response of documents in his possession. Request number 17. All fan mail referenced by you in document FOIA, as well as other fan mail as determined which used by you in document, and all other communications in which individual express support for you or your colleagues at the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department or support for law enforcement in general. Subject to general objection, plaintiff responds that it's I'm not even going to read these anymore because it's the same response to every single request. All news reports and other media coverage and commentary making a murder that you intend to use at trial in opposition to the summary judgment or at the deposition of any current or former employee of Netflix, including but not limited to written articles, television or radio broadcasts, podcasts, video commentary, interview, anyone involved in production of distribution of making a murder. Subject to his general objections, same thing again. Number 19. All documents that you intend to or may rely upon during trial of this action, either as evidence of the purpose of impeachment or the refreshing of the recollection of a witness. Response. Subject to general objections and objections that the defendants appear to seek plaintiff's counsel work product in real time contrary to the work product privilege. Plaintiff reserves the right to supplement his response, and he is not required to have a trial documents prepared for document exchange at this point. Exhibit 21. Case number GC 13280, 9/30/2003. Stephen Avery prosecution. On Monday, September 22nd, 2003. Deborah K. Strauss met with Manitowoc County Sheriff Kenneth J. Peterson. During this meeting, Special Agent DCI Deb Strauss told Sheriff Peterson that the Attorney General's office had been asked to review the events which occurred between Penny Bernstein and the assault on 7/29/1985 through the Stephen Avery arrest and prosecution. Special Agent Deb Strauss assured Sheriff Peterson the Attorney General's office was not going to investigate the crime. Special Agent Deb Strauss asked Sheriff Peterson for a copy of the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department case file regarding the assault and subsequent investigation. Sheriff Peterson went to his safe because that is where he thought the entire case file was being kept. Sheriff Peterson pulled out a small stack of documents regarding Avery and Gregory Allen. Sheriff Peterson then went to a second location and obtained the entire case file regarding the assault and conviction. Now, why did he have a special set of documents set to the side when they should all been in the whole case file? Sheriff Peterson said he would be willing to provide Special Agent Deb Strauss with a copy of the documents in the safe, but Sheriff Peterson would need time to have the case file copied. I do believe there's copy machines in every single sheriff's department and police station in the United States ever since they started making copy machines. They even have fax machines too, because you could have faxed them everything. Sheriff Strauss it's a policy of Sheriff's Department that the case files need to stay in-house, so he wanted to take them home. Jeez. The following is a list of documents which were maintained in a safe in the office of the Sheriff Peterson and provided to Deb Strauss. The first document was the affidavit of Michael Ernst Lucero. The affidavit is dated 6/14/2000. As part of the affidavit, Lucero states while he was an inmate at the Green Bay Correctional Institute, he met Steve Avery. During one of Lucero's conversations with Avery, Avery admits to raping a woman on the beach in Manitowoc County. Avery has never admitted to anything he did not do, and that is a fact. The next document examined by Special Agent Strauss was a statement by James Link. The statement is dated 9/12/2003. The statement was regarding the conversation Lieutenant Link had with Sergeant Colborn regarding a phone call that Sergeant Colborn had received from Brown County. The person from Brown County was talking to Sergeant Colborn because Brown County had a person in custody who stated that a few years prior he committed an assault in Manitowoc County. The third document examined by Deb Strauss was a one-page statement signed by Sergeant Colborn. The statement was produced on 9/12/2003. Well, Stephen Avery was released on 9/11/2003. So why did he wait, 7 years to make a report of him receiving this phone call? But I'll read on. Third document, one-page statement signed by Sergeant Colborn. The statement was prepared on 9/12/2003. According to this statement, in 1994 or 95, Sergeant Colborn was working as a corrections officer in the Manitowoc County Jail. While working in the corrections office, Sergeant Colborn received a call from a man who identified himself as a detective from outside the Manitowoc County area. The detective stated he had received information that a person in the custody had been commenting that he had committed an assault in Manitowoc County and someone else was in jail for it. The next document examined by Deputy Strauss is dated 9/12/2003. This document is a memo on Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department letterhead and addressed to the department personnel. The memo is from Sheriff Kenneth Peterson. This memo states that employees shall make no comments concerning Stephen Avery case. All news release shall be issued by the Sheriff Peterson or Inspector Herman. I wonder if that's Todd or Rob. Another document examined by Deb Strauss was press released by Mark Rohr, Manitowoc County District Attorney. He's now a judge. The press release regarding the release of Stephen Avery, this press release states that according to the DNA test results, Gregory Allen had actually committed the sexual assault attempted homicide, not Stephen Avery. The final set of documents examined by Strauss were master lookup files dated 9/10/2003 and 9/12/2003. The printout, which was prepared on 9/10/2003, was regarding Stephen Avery. Date of birth, master log files dated 9/12/2003 regarding Gregory Allen. A copy of the previously mentioned documents can be found in the main case file. Division of Criminal Investigation. I know some of you guys have probably not have seen these documents. On Monday, September 22nd, 2003, Deb Strauss met with Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department, Kenneth Peterson. During the meeting, Strauss told Sheriff Peterson the Attorney General's office had been asked to review the events which occurred between Penny Bernstein's assault on 7/29/1985 through the Stephen Avery arrest and prosecution. Strauss assured that Sheriff Peterson, Attorney General's office, was not going to reinvestigate the crime. Strauss asked Sheriff Peterson for a copy of the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department case file regarding the assault and subsequent investigation. Sheriff Peterson went to his safe because that is where he thought the entire case file was being kept. Sheriff Peterson pulled out a small stack of documents regarding Avery Gregory Allen. Sheriff Peterson then went to a second location and obtained an entire case file regarding his first statement. Her first statement just completely contradicts what she states after that. Sheriff Peterson said he would be willing to provide Strauss with a copy of documents in the safe, but Sheriff Peterson would need to have to have his case file copied. Sheriff Peterson would not release the case file Strauss because the policy of the State Department of case files need to stay in-house. The following is a list of documents which were, so they should still be there then. All the documents they're referring to, if they keep them in-house. Following documents were being maintained in the safe from the office of Sheriff Peterson provided by Strauss. First document was the affidavit of Michael Ernst of Lucero. The affidavit is dated 6/14/2000. As part of the affidavit, Lucero states that while he was an inmate at the Green Bay Correctional Institution, Stephen Avery, during Lucero's conversation with Avery, admits the rape. So they keep that, but they don't keep the phone call about him getting this shit just infuriates me. The more information we leave, the more Stephen Avery looks more and more innocent like he is. State of Wisconsin's going to be fucked once he gets his day in court. Sergeant Colborn regarding a phone call Sergeant Porter received from Brown County. The person from Brown County was talking to Sergeant Colborn because Brown County had a person in custody who stated that a few years prior he committed assault in Manitowoc County. The third document examined Strauss was a one-page statement signed by Sergeant Colborn. The statement was prepared on 9/12/2003. According to the statement, in 1994 or 1995, Colborn was working as a correction officer in Manitowoc County Jail. Backstory. Prior to this, Andrew Colborn kept applying to become a sheriff. 3 times. He was never employed by them. He stayed as a jail. But then this call happens. And guess who becomes a sheriff now? How convenient. Remember, all compasses point north. Eric Jose, he's right behind me. He's always there. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be doing this right now. Wouldn't be doing any of this. Another document examined with Strauss was a press release by Mark Rohr, Manitowoc County District Attorney. Press release regarding the release of Stephen Avery. This press release states regarding the DNA results of Gregory Allen had actually committed the crime. The final set of documents examined with Strauss were lookup files 9/10. Yeah, this is just the same duration, but that's all 52 pages. There's one more document that was filed today. I've yet to look at it. I'm going to end this and then come right back. So, see y'all in a minute.